All right, so Mr. King,
Yes.
moving past the conversation, let's
Right.
not touch on that. But just in general, can you describe the alcohol consumption that you personally observed and what you personally witnessed?
Sure. I didn't see Mr. Depp consume any alcohol during that time in London. There was a large consignment of wine that had been delivered to the house at the start of the visit. Many cases that I had to find a place to store. And generally speaking, on a day-to-day, about 1 or 2 bottles of red wine were consumed per day. I think that's fair to say.
Did you ever observe Mr. Depp drink any of the wine?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever observe Ms. Hurd drink any of the wine?
Yes, I did.
Regularly?
Daily.
Now, I think you already testified that you observed interactions with Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd, and you generally found them to be friendly. Is that fair?
Very much so, yes.
Were there any exceptions to that?
Towards me? Oh.
I'll rephrase. Okay. Did you ever observe any arguments between the two?
Yes, I did.
I'll allow it. That's fine. Go ahead.
You can answer.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. And can you describe for us the arguments that you observed?
I can describe 2 of them, certainly. There were a few arguments on that during that month.
Well, let's just start with those 2.
Okay. The first one I remember was an evening. Actually, they were both the ones I recall and I was close to were evenings. This first particular evening, the couple were due to go out for dinner, I guess. I know the car was waiting in the little courtyard there, ready for them to go, and security were waiting to take them. I was waiting to see them out into the car. I was at the foot of on the ground floor level, to wait to see them out, essentially. And the first thing I heard was Miss Hurd shouting upstairs in the master suite where they were getting ready to leave. I heard her shout something, I don't recall what. I was in the vicinity, I wasn't really there to listen. And I heard footsteps, loud footsteps, sort of going across, there's a corridor, if you like, at the top of those stairs that went around the master suite. Loud footsteps, and then more footsteps following, more shouting. And that sort of went on for some time. I mean, I knew that what time they needed to leave. I don't recall what time that was, but I knew they were supposed to have left already. And it went on for a bit.
Do you recall how that first fight or argument resolved?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I know that they left eventually, albeit late. I don't know how it really resolved, because I sort of made myself busy, but not going too far away from the door to make sure I saw them out.
All right, and then what about the second argument that you mentioned?
Second one, I was pretty much in the same vicinity, the same room on the ground floor. Again, the couple were in the TV room, I think, which was off the main sitting room, early evening, and I was going about my early evening duties, replenishing drinks close by, lighting the fire, lighting candles, whatever it might have been. I was close enough to hear Miss Hurd say, "Why did you take your hand away from me, Johnny? Don't you love me anymore?" Like, not in a playful way, I might add. And I think he replied, "Of course I do, don't be silly. Of course I do." And it kind of launched from that point.
We're going to have more of this testimony when we come back on the other side. We'll hit the pause button, but still with us, criminal defense attorney Matthew T. Mangino. And Matthew, I think I got ahead of myself with the timing, so I'm glad to ask in the last 30 seconds, what is your initial impression of this witness, Ben King?
Well, he's giving a little background. He's overheard, at least to this point, some arguments. He's heard Amber Hurd yelling. He's seen her drinking. We'll see where it ultimately leads. But it's hard to be the next witness after Johnny Depp in this case.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And it's interesting to me, for another day when we can have another conversation, that Johnny Depp testified in the middle of the trial, because we're taught in trial skills, primacy and recency, but he was in the middle of the witnesses. All right, Matthew T. Mangino, thank you so much for your time, your expertise. You do not want to miss any more of this testimony as we continue our live coverage here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Issued by WebBank, member FDIC.
Good Monday afternoon. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. We continue our coverage of the defamation case of Johnny Depp against his ex-wife Amber Hurd. Depp, the plaintiff in this case, just concluded his testimony after 4 days on the stand. He left the stand appearing victorious, smiling, being patted on the back by his attorneys. The Hollywood A-lister Depp is suing Hurd for $50 million, and she is countersuing him for $100 million. Right now, we want to take you back to the courtroom where Ben King, who is the house manager for Johnny Depp in London, is testifying. He has just said that he has seen Amber Hurd drinking wine while there.
Went upstairs, and I was sort of scuttling around out of the way because I wasn't there listening. I was just there doing my stuff in and around them. Yeah, it was a strange, sort of banal way to start an argument, but...
How would you describe Miss Hurd's tone when she said, why did you take your hand away, Johnny?
Accusatory, spoiled teenage child. Maybe, is that fair? Pretty, not playfully, let's put it that way, more angrily.
Over the course of the 4 weeks in August and September 2014, when you were working with Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd in London,
yes.
Did you ever observe any physical violence of any kind between the two of them?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever observe any injuries on either one of them?
No, neither of them.
Okay. After those 4 weeks, did you ever work for Mr. Depp or Ms. Hurd again?
I did, a couple of occasions. The following year was the first one, the following spring.
Okay, and where was that?
In Australia.
And was it unusual for you to be in Australia?
In Australia, maybe, but not unusual for me to travel for clients for my assignments to wherever it was needed.
Okay. How exactly did it come about that you were in Australia with Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd?
Towards the end of the London visit, Mr. Depp had kindly said, thanks so much for looking after us. We really like you. Maybe if you're free next year and we can arrange it, we can make it happen. Perhaps you'll be able to come to Australia with us. I've got to film Pirates 5. So I said, great, I'd love to. Obviously. I was freelance at the time, so it was going to be about 4 months' work, I think it was billed as. So I thought, yes, I wouldn't mind some of that. Thank you very much.
And where in Australia were you staying?
There's a Gold Coast, yeah, sort of Brisbane area. Brisbane was the main airport, so it's about an hour's drive south of Brisbane.
Okay. And do you recall when you arrived?
I arrived on February the 4th. I know I flew on that day.
Okay. How did your job responsibilities in Australia compare to your job responsibilities in London?
Much the same, just on a bigger scale. The house was larger. There was a bit more setup to do, but essentially the same oversight of the house, responsible for it during the whole gig.
And were you employed by Mr. Depp or Ms. Hurd?
No.
Who were you employed by?
Essentially by Disney, the production company affiliated with Disney, who were making the movie. I think their name was Herschel, was the production company.
Okay. Now, I think you said you arrived in Australia on February 4th, 2015?
Correct.
Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. How about Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd? When did they arrive?
The setup for us was about a few weeks. I think they arrived towards the end of February 2015.
And between your arrival and their arrival, what had you been doing?
Just setting up the house. I lived on site. There was a guest house on site, a 2-bedroom, single-story guest house that I stayed in for those first couple of weeks, setting up the house and just getting everything ready during that time. And then I moved out to apartments, which we all had. I mean, a lot of the crew, the chef had an apartment. We all had apartments about a 30-minute drive south of the house.
Okay. And so we're talking about this house in Australia. So
Yes.
can you kind of describe that property to us?
Yes, it was a large house on a few acres of land. A 3-story house, 5 bedrooms, with 2 or 3 buildings within the grounds as well. A good-sized house, beautiful location.
How many entrances would you say it had?
Entrances, many. I mean, many certainly on the lower ground level out to the garden. On the first or on the main floor level, there was many entrances. I mean, every room in that house had a balcony at least. Every room on the lower ground floor had a sliding door or a door out. The utility room, the garage, the gym, everything. Obviously the front door. Many. On the main level, the large glass sliding doors out to the pool area, which had a gazebo and steps down to the ground.
Okay, and once Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd arrived to stay at this house, was anybody else staying in the house?
Staying in the house, no.
Was anybody else staying on the grounds?
On the property, yes. I mean, there was a couple there, caretaking couple, Sean and his wife, Sandra, who worked for the owner of the house. They lived on site essentially all the time. They were there pretty much throughout. And their house was, a couple of 100 yards away from the main house. And yes, security were there also.
All right, sticking with the caretaker just briefly, about how long would you estimate it would take to walk from the main house to the caretaker's house?
Under 5 minutes. I mean, yeah, no more than 5 minutes.
Okay. And then you mentioned security. What was the security setup?
Security was set up by Jerry Judge. They were employed. They stayed in the grounds for the duration. They didn't come into the house. They had a little sort of shack round by the perimeter wall, where they would start their patrols from, walk around the grounds, around the exterior of the house at certain times of the day, write their reports, and go back and stay in their shack.
And how many security guards would be on site at any particular time?
I think one in the day and one in the night, so they did sort of 12 hours about, as I remember it.
But it was 24/7?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Do you know whether those were local employees or were they regularly employed?
I believe they were Australian, yes.
Okay. Now, I think you said you were not on the property 24/7, right? You had an apartment elsewhere?
Correct, yeah. I kept the same hours as I did in London, essentially. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, not quite, but 7, 8 a.m. till evening, till everything was set up and I could leave.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity when you were in Australia to observe Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd's interactions with each other?
Yes, of course.
And how would you describe them?
Initially very good, like in London. It seemed very pleasant towards each other.
Did you observe any arguments?
Yes. I had several.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes. A similar pattern, it seemed, to London arguments. One in particular was very similar to the second one in London. Started in the TV room, funnily enough. Loud voices, and Mr. Depp leaving the room, shutting the door, going to another room to play his guitar or to a bathroom, whatever, and Miss Hurd closely following and opening the door or certainly rapping on the door. It seemed to continue.
Give us an estimate about how many arguments you think you observed in this time frame, approximately?
Several. I mean, we were there for several months, so certainly many more than in London.
Did you observe any alcohol consumption in Australia by either of them?
Yes, again, Ms. Hurd, I was, again, part of my responsibilities was to provision the house and have everything set up for that. So I regularly brought red wine for Ms. Hurd, which she consumed, the same amount as in London, I think.
And what amount is that?
Generally speaking, 1 or 2 bottles a day.
Okay. Did you ever observe Mr. Depp start any arguments with Ms. Hurd?
No.
Oh, sorry, hold on, objection.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, could you put your microphone, there we go.
Leading, objection leading.
I'll sustain this to leading if you want.
Okay, we can move on.
New question. Okay.
Do you remember anything about Friday, March 6th, 2015?
It was essentially a normal Friday, if you like. End of the week. Yay. Nothing extraordinary about that day.
Did you come into work that day?
Yes, yeah, I was there.
Okay. Do you recall about what time you would have left the house on that date?
I remember taking a photo of the beautiful sunset over the pool. The sun would set over the pool and the creek. I took a photo of that around early evening, so 6:37. I would think I wouldn't have left much later than that.
Was Mr. Depp there when you left?
I don't think so. I think Mr. Depp was at the studio still on that day. I can't remember sort of seeing him to say goodbye. No, have a good weekend.
How about Ms. Hurd? Do you recall if she was there when you left?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Did anything unusual happen that weekend?
Yeah, I would say something pretty unusual happened.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I can.
Foundation.
All right, foundation. You want to lay a foundation?
At some point, did you become aware that something had happened between
Yes.
Mr. Depp and Ms.
To the
Hurd?
extent it calls for hearsay.
All right. I'll sustain that objection.
All right, turning to the following Sunday.
Ms. Moniz, how much more do you have? Because it's time for our afternoon break.
I think we can. I have a little bit more, Your Honor, so I think maybe this would be a good time for a break.
All right, let's go ahead and take our afternoon 15-minute break, ladies and gentlemen. Again, do not talk to anybody at the case and don't do any outside.
All right, an afternoon court break. And during this time, I want to welcome in New York criminal defense attorney Marie Pereira. Marie, thank you for joining us, for coming on. I noticed that Ben King testified he was not working for Amber Hurd or Johnny Depp, but rather for Disney. What are your thoughts about the testimony of Ben King?
Well, so far, initially, I thought it was just another character witness, and I was like, okay, this is enough. But it seems like he's here to be a little bit different and not like the rest of them who appeared to be like sycophants who were on staff. He specifically said he works for Disney, and I think that was very purposeful to show that he has less bias than the other ones. I'm curious to see what he's going to say, because he is definitely putting himself not as a person who was on the payroll of Johnny Depp.
Marie, I agree, because I was saying when he said that, I thought, oh my gosh, the credibility of him just went up for me. Do you think the jury catches those nuances and those facts to say credibility is not somebody who's employed by Depp to come testify, but rather somebody who was an eyewitness to what happened?
Absolutely, the jury catches on who is my friend, who is coming here, again, like a sycophant on my payroll, and who is biased. So far, in this case, I think the only really 2 people who were absolutely biased was the therapist and his doctor. Otherwise, all of them were just his friends who were on his side, and their testimony is definitely watered down.
And let me ask you, I know that we need to take a break, but Marie, what did you think overall of Johnny Depp's testimony?
His testimony on redirect, I think, was just ridiculous, because he did so much damage on cross that it is like trying to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And him saying that all those things were irreverent, abstract humor, that is ridiculous and an insult to the jurors, in my opinion.
All right, we're going to see what happens. A lot more to this trial. We do need to squeeze in a break. When we come back, we'll go back into court after their recess to listen to more from Ben King, the House manager.
3,200 now.
Well, here's an interesting tidbit for you. Ben King, the House manager, he is the one who found the severed fingertip of Johnny Depp. Let's go back into court as he begins to describe what happened. You can see that they're standing. They return from their afternoon break, standing for the jury to enter Ben King back on the stand.
Mr. King,
Yes.
before we went on break, we were discussing Friday, March 6th, 2015.
Right.
After you left the house that evening, when did you next see Ms. Hurd?
Sunday the 8th,
And where did you see Ms. Hurd?
at the house.
What were your typical hours?
Monday to Friday from 7 or 8 a.m. till the end of play each evening, early evening usually.
Why were you at the house that Sunday?
I was called to the house by one of Mr. Depp's assistants.
And about what time did you arrive at the house?
Around 2 o'clock, 2:30.
Who was there when you arrived?
Debbie Lloyd was there. David Kipper was there. Amber Hurd was there. Jerry Judge was there.
And I think by now probably everybody's familiar, but can you just very quickly say who those people are?
Sure. Debbie Lloyd was a nurse. David Kipper was Dr. David Kipper. Ms. Hurd was Miss Hurd, and Jerry Judge was head of security.
And when you arrived at the house on Sunday, March 8th, 2015, what did you do?
I just parked up and went into the house.
And did you observe anything when you went into the house?
Yeah, I mean, initially I walked into the front door. Initially I heard, rather than saw anything, I could hear pretty hysterical sobbing, crying, which sounded like Miss Hurd to me. I heard Jerry Judge's voice. There's a few steps as you go up into the house, so you can't immediately see what's going on. But so I went up the steps. I could see then Miss Hurd over on the right-hand side, over towards the TV room with Jerry Judge. David Kipper was in the kitchen area, which was pretty much directly ahead as you walk up those steps.
And were you able to visually see Miss Hurd?
Yes,
And you were able to hear her as well?
absolutely.
How would you describe her demeanor?
Hysterical, probably the best way to describe it. Crying a lot, and just crying uncontrollably. I think it's fair to say.
And how would you describe Jerry Judge's demeanor when he was speaking with her?
He was just keeping her calm, saying, "It's all right, love, it will be all right." You know, Jerry was good, like, he had a big heart, Jerry. He's a good guy. He was calm. Jerry was always calm. Well, mostly.
And what did you do next?
I saw they were engaged across away there, so I went into the main kitchen area, which, as I said, was just directly ahead of those main steps, and spoke to David Kipper.
And following that conversation, what did you do?
Well, he told me that Mr. Depp had...
Objection, hearsay.
All right.
Your Honor, well, may we approach?
Okay.
Another objection, another approaching the bench. We've seen quite a few of those today, more I think than we had before. Still with us, criminal defense attorney Marie Pereira, and we'll just talk until they start up and then we have to start again. So describing this incident and hearing that Hurd was hysterical, really, how much do you think it affects this case that Hurd has not been painted in a favorable light so far?
So far, she has not. He definitely puts her out there as a 2 bottle of wine a day kind of gal, which makes her almost just as much as a drunk and volatile as she's claiming he is after he drinks. So that put some pretty good hits on her. But so far, he hasn't said anything. I'm curious to see what he's going to say. I think at this point, any expert or any other witness that the Depp camp is going to put on needs to be someone who's going to explain how that injury happened. They need an expert on high velocity injury to explain what happened.
Let's go back to court. Maybe one of them admitted it.
Who was in the kitchen area, seemingly rummaging through a bin. He said that Mr. Depp had sustained an injury to his finger, one of his fingers, and he was looking for the fingertip that it said it had been severed.
Yeah.
So I said, well, shall I help you? You know, as one would. And he said, yeah, that would be a good idea. I left him in the kitchen. He said there was a lot more damage downstairs. So I went to, we split up. He left him in the kitchen. I went downstairs to search.
At some point, was Mr. Depp's fingertip found?
Yes,
Who found it?
I did.
And where did you find it?
Downstairs in the bar area, the games room bar area.
So, can you walk us through how you found it?
Yes, so I walked down the stairs. There was a bit of damage down the steps. That a big chunk had been taken out of the marble staircase. On my way down, with remnants of what looked like a plant pot or something around it, smashed. Walking down into the bar, I could see the damage that Dr. Kipper had told me about. A broken ping pong table sort of collapsed onto the floor, and lots of glass and broken glass and cans strewn around the bar area.
And where exactly was the finger in the bar area?
Directly below the bar. The bar was set up like a conventional bar that stuck out from a wall, and with a marble top. There's a big chunk out of that as well, like on the staircase. Directly at the end of the bar, there was a scrunched up piece of kitchen paper, if you like, tissue, with lots of blood around it, on it. So I thought that was probably a pretty good place to look. And it was within that scrunched up piece of paper on the tiled floor at the end of the bar, the base of the bar by one of the bar stools.
Was there any property damage around the finger?
Yes, a fair bit. On the floor around that area, there were puddles of what smelled like alcohol to me. Seemed like several drinking glasses, a couple of bottles. One was a Stolichnaya vodka bottle. And at the end of the bar, as I said, there was a big chunk out of the bar itself, the bar marble top. At the end of the bar, there was plaster damage right at the end of the bar on the wall. Behind the bar, smashed and cracked mirror. There's a blue mirror that stretched that whole span of behind the bar. Lots of cans again behind the bar on the floor. Broken window at the end of the bar, and more plastered work damage on the wall above the sink. Is sort of a kitchenette bar, if you like, as well.
You mentioned a bottle of vodka. Was the vodka bottle intact?
No, nothing was really intact. The top of it, the top of a bottle is like, it had a label on it, which is how I knew it was a Stolichnaya bottle. It had that sort of squiggly S, sort of yellow top. There was a large chunk of a bottle, which I guess was the rest of that, and several other, lots of other broken glass around the area.
After you found the fingertip in the bar area, what did you do next?
Well, I gathered it up in that kitchen paper and sort of took it upstairs. I might have shouted up to David Kipper, I found it. I'm not sure, but I walked back upstairs to the kitchen and got a bag, a little plastic bag, put the fingertip in there, set it on top of some ice in this plastic kitchen container, and pretty much handed it over to David Kipper and Jerry Judge, I think, at the time, who were keen to get it to the hospital quickly to see if it could be reattached.
We don't know how it happened, but he absolutely had a severed fingertip. We do need to take a commercial break. When we come back, you won't miss a thing. We'll take you right back to this testimony. I'm telling you, this is a trial not to miss, because what are we listening to now? Testimony about bloody fingertips and bottles of booze. Ben King is on the stand, a house manager. He's the one who found the severed finger of Johnny Depp. Let's go back to court.
What time you found Mr. Depp's finger in the bar area?
It was about an hour after I got there, so it would have been around 3:30, I would think, 3:20, 3:30.
Okay. Now, you've told us a little bit about the state the house was in when you arrived.
Yes.
Can you generally describe for us, and maybe go level by level through the house, what damage you observed?
Sure. Do you want me to start at the lower ground floor in that bar area? I've described a lot of that.
Sure, that's fine.
It was pretty extensive down there, all that broken glass, the blood. There were a lot of blood drips across that floor. It was a kind of cream-coloured tiled floor in that whole games area. As I said, the ping pong table was collapsed. Blood drips across the floor and around the bar. And the damage on the walls, as I said, the plaster work at the end of the bar, behind the bar, and the chunk out of the marble top. So on the ground, that was the predominant damage in that area, on that level. On the next floor, on the main floor where David Kipper was, in the kitchen itself, again, there were a few broken glasses and cans on the floor, soda cans behind the kitchen island, the chef's kitchen island, liquid sort of puddles. There was a sitting room with a couch on a cream-coloured couch, which had a fair amount of blood drips on the cushions, and that was obvious. The TV, which was directly in front of that wall-mounted TV, was cracked with, it seemed like remnants of a coffee cup embedded in some of it, and the rest was below, looked like coffee splattered behind and underneath the TV, and on the floor as well. Through there, we'd set up an art studio. So a lot of the art materials from that, paintbrushes, paint, various art materials were on the floor. A lot of paint on the floor. Blood drips throughout that area as well, especially over there's a vast sort of wooden parquet floor. There was a lot of oil paint and blood drips up to the staircase. In one of the bedrooms, there were two bedrooms off off of the main kitchen area. One of those bedrooms had blood drips on the duvet, and a lamp had seemingly been broken. The shade was removed. There were a couple of lampshades in the art studio area on the floor. That was about the extent of the damage. Going upstairs to the next level, there was a few blood smears on the wall and on the drips on the stairs going up. Again, a cream-colored carpet, which is not ideal. And so that's the top floor was the master bedroom, master suite floor, and 2 bedrooms also up there. Outside the master bedroom, there was damage to the plaster work on a pillar outside on the wall. Blood drips into the master bedroom, across the master bedroom floor. Going into the master bathroom, there was a his and hers sink and a mirror, a large mirror above each of the sinks that had writing on each of them. Again, that one of the bedrooms, or both of the bedrooms, I think, had blood on the duvet covers, and another lamp was broken. Mr. Depp's guitar was in one of those bedrooms, a blood-stained guitar. His iPad was standing up on one of the beds in one of those bedrooms. That's about the extent of it.
That's the damage
on each level, yeah.
Whose job was it to clean all that up?
It was mine. It was mine. My responsibility. The house was essentially my responsibility.
So were you familiar with the damage generally throughout the house?
I got a pretty good idea as I walked around and saw it all, yes.
Did you observe any damaged phones?
No.
Did you observe any damage to a wall where a phone might have been ripped off the wall?
No.
Bleeding.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one. Okay.
Was there any artwork in this house? Decorating the house?
The owners had left their art in the house, yes. Mr. Depp and Miss Hurd had done some artwork themselves, yes. But yes, there was some that came with the house, if you like.
Focusing just on the artwork that came with the house, did you observe any damage to any of that?
No, nothing that I needed to repair or replace. Certainly not. Thank goodness.
Is there any other damage that comes to mind?
Just a lot of blood, a lot of repairs. The floor, as I said, was quite heavily with blood and paint. Yeah.
And in terms of bodily fluids, it was just blood that you observed, no urine or anything else?
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right, I'll sustain
fine.
I'll strike the answer from the record.
So, no other damage. Does any other damage come to mind?
No.
Okay. Can we take a look at Defendants Exhibit 375, which I believe is already in evidence?
Yes.
And can we publish this to the jury?
Okay.
Mr. King, are you familiar with the image that's on the screen in front of you?
Yes, that's one of the mirrors I was telling you about in the master bathroom.
And so, were you involved in cleaning any of this up?
I cleaned both of those mirrors at some point that evening, that night. Yes.
Were you able to tell what was used, or what substance what sort of the ink is that's used on the black writing there?
That was the same oil paint that was on the floor, on the parquet floor downstairs and various other places. It was the same oil paint.
All right, how about the red writing that says, call Carly Simon, she said it better, babe. Were you able to tell what was used to make that writing?
Lipstick, I
Action
believe.
Foundation. Objection foundation.
He's testified that he was cleaning it up.
I'll allow it. That's fine. Go ahead.
It certainly seemed like lipstick to me, red lipstick. It was quite waxy. I remember taking that off. It seemed like lipstick.
Okay, we can take that down. Mr. King, about how long were you at the house on that Sunday?
Quite a long time. It actually went into the early hours of Monday morning, so at least I got there around 2 in the afternoon of Sunday. I don't think I left there until 2 or 3 o'clock the next morning of the 9th.
Over the course of...
I just can't even turn away from this testimony, but we do need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take you right back where we left off so you can hear everything that Ben King has to say about what he observed by Amber Hurd and Johnny Depp.
Call him to get a free quote.
And back to court for continuing testimony by Ben King, the house manager.
That day, did you have any interactions with Miss Hurd?
Yes, I certainly did. Yes.
Can you describe those for us, please?
Yes, not too much initially. She was very, as I said, quite hysterical and crying a lot, and Jerry Judge was taking care of her, keeping her calm. Later in the evening, it was suggested that Miss Hurd go to a local hotel to leave the house, go to a local hotel, which then became a suggestion that she go back to LA. And that's, I think, when I started interacting in terms of, at some point, I volunteered to travel with her to LA.
How did Miss Hurd respond to the suggestion that she leave for Los Angeles?
She was resistant to both of those suggestions, very resistant. She really didn't want to go and said, I can't leave, I can't leave. You know, it'll be the end if I leave. Those sorts of things. And so it was just, these went over a few hours, those negotiations, if you like. And eventually, Ms. Hurd agreed that I would fly with her.
And did you, in fact, fly with her?
I did, on Monday the 9th.
Okay. Sticking with Sunday, when you were interacting with her on that Sunday, how close were you to her?
Very close, very close, in front of her.
And do you recall observing any injuries on Miss Hurd?
No, none whatsoever.
Did you notice anything unusual about her physically at all?
No, she was obviously crying a lot. She had red eyes, but no, otherwise no.
Okay. So what happened the following day, that Monday, March 9th, I guess it would be, 2015?
Right, so, it was eventually agreed that I would fly with Miss Hurd, so I had to at some point go back to my apartment, drive to my apartment to pick up my passport, which, funnily enough, I hadn't brought with me, and some clothes, a bag to take. So I think I left the house early hours, as I said, 2, 3, may have been a bit later, a.m. I drove back to my apartment, which was 30 minutes drive south, picked up those things. I didn't know how long I was going to go for, but I knew I was traveling, so passport, quick shower, pick up a bag of clothes, and I drove back up to the house. I don't recall exactly what time I arrived there, but I know we had to leave. All the arrangements were being made by the travel agent, and Jerry Judge was liaising with them to make the flight arrangements, and which I believe was going mid to late morning. So I think we had to leave the house around 7 or 8 a.m. that morning, Monday the 9th.
And did you travel to the airport with Miss Hurd?
Yes, we were driven.
How would you describe her demeanor that morning?
Calmed down a fair bit. She was mostly on the phone, to be honest, for for pretty much the whole of that car journey to various people, one of which I believe was Mr. Depp.
Do you recall her saying anything on the ride to the airport about what had happened the night prior?
Nothing really mentioned in that as way as an explanation, no.
What happened when you got to the airport, if anything?
We were running a bit late, but I remember that. Luckily, we were traveling first class, so the driver knew to pull up to a kind of VIP, for want of a better word, VIP check-in point. And so the car got pretty close to where the desk was. Miss Hurd was still on the phone, and so we sat there for a bit with the driver, and Miss Hurd was talking. I don't know who to at that point. And I was thinking, we need to make this flight actually pretty soon because we were already running a bit late. So I decided to go in, maybe I can go in, check in our bags ahead, and then come back and get Miss Hurd. She should be finished by then, which is what I did.
And did you eventually get on the plane?
Eventually we did. It was a close call, to be honest.
Once you were on the plane, did you have any conversations with Miss Hurd?
Yes, I mean, not initially, but she took some time in the bathroom. She was on the phone again to the point where the cabin crew had to sort of tap on the door and say, we need to leave now. Everybody needs to sit down. And she did come to sit down, after 10 or 15 minutes in there. And so eventually, and luckily, as I said, we were flying first class, which was lovely. She was in the window seat, I think it was 1A, 1B window seat. I had the aisle seat. And finally, we could both sit down, and in way of conversation, wasn't a great deal, to be honest. I did sort of say, finally, so what happened? Obviously referring to the house. And, I mean, she didn't give much explanation, if any. She did say, Ben, have you ever been so angry with someone you just lost it with them? And I sort of said, no, actually, I'm pretty calm, even-tempered guy. But she did repeat it. She looked pretty incredulous that I hadn't, and she repeated it. You mean you've never lost it with somebody, got so angry with someone, you just lost it with them? And I said, unless you count the sort of time when I was 14 years old and I hit the light switch in my bedroom because I wasn't allowed out that night or something. With a person, no, never. And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. She dropped it then.
How would you describe her tone?
Still with us, criminal defense attorney Marie Pereira. Marie, your last thoughts as we near the top of the hour.
I'm sorry that I have to leave because it's getting good. This is a witness that's working for the Depp camp, and basically it sounds like she confessed to him.
I love that, right? I love that you said that because I thought the same thing. She was incredulous that he never lost it with somebody. She's hysterical the whole time. What do you think, though, about the writing on the mirror and the floor? And Johnny Depp engaged in some of that, too. Is that hurtful or helpful or neither for Johnny Depp's team?
I think it's sort of helpful because it shows that some of it was not him. I don't believe it was him with the lipstick, and I think all the damage that was caused to the bar and the broken glass supports the high-velocity injury theory. So he may be that high-velocity witness that I was asking for.
Right.
Because it certainly supports him.
And I hate to cut you off, but we're out of time. Marie, I agree. Nobody wants to miss this testimony. I'm going to be listening to it as I exit the studio. Marie Pereira, thank you so much for being with us today as a guest legal analyst. That is all of it for me today. Thank you at home for joining us. Don't go anywhere. My esteemed colleague, Michael Ayala, is up next. He is going to have more of the Depp House manager's testimony. Don't go anywhere. Here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
I up and cried in my bedroom after I had dumped you a week prior. week prior after you beat out of me, and then a week later you show up at my doorstep in my room saying you want to say goodbye. Okay, say goodbye.
Oh, I said it?
Yes, you did say it.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and I'm glad you're with me because it has been a great day and things are heating up this afternoon. It's day 8 in the dueling defamation trial between ex-spouses Johnny Depp and Amber Hurd. Testimony resumed with more explosive and damaging audio recordings from the pair's volatile and abusive marriage. Depp started the day on cross-examination, then ended with his attorney attempting to rehabilitate him on redirect. Of course, he is suing his ex-wife for $50 million following a Washington Post op-ed that he claims ruined his reputation and Hollywood career. She's countersuing him for $100 million for his claims that she was a liar and a hoaxer. Today's theme, more damning texts and audio recordings.
Go put your cigarettes out on someone else. You have consequences for your actions. That's it.
Shut up, fat ass.
Yeah, you got me there.
I think that was another grossly exaggerated moment of Miss Hurd's. I did not put a cigarette out on her or throw a cigarette at her.
Did he or didn't he? We don't know. Depp has actually ended his testimony. On the stand now is House Manager Ben King. Interesting guy, interesting witness for the Johnny Depp team, because he is what they call a disinterested witness. He doesn't belong to either side. He wasn't employed by Depp, and he wasn't employed by Hurd. He was actually employed by Disney. He was a house manager and viewed and saw a lot of things, and he's testifying about different things that he saw and conversations he had. When we left off just before the break, and we're picking it right up, is where he's talking about a conversation that he had with Amber Hurd after an argument and fight that he saw. So let's get back into the court.
She won't ask those questions of you.
To me, incredulous, would be fair to say. Surprised that I hadn't lost it with somebody.
Does anything else stand out about that flight?
It was fairly calm. After that, it was calm. But I mean, we were both exhausted. I certainly was, and I think I can't remember eating even. Just slept most of the flight until obviously we landed, or were close to landing.
At any point, did you observe anything about Miss Hurd physically on that flight?
Yes, I did. Right toward just before we landed, I noticed some marks on her arm, her left forearm.
And how would you describe those?
Long, kind of uniform, evenly spaced, sort of long, thin marks. Very uniform, in fact.
And when did you first notice those?
On the plane towards coming into land, we're gathering the stuff up. I noticed them then.
Okay. What did you do after you landed in Los Angeles?
Once I'd fired up my phone on landing, I saw the arrangements that we would be picked up by one of Mr. Depp's security personnel, who I think was Travis McGivern. So I made contact with him, and he met us in the place that had been arranged. We walked through the arrivals lounge and met him at the end of that. Got in the car with him and drove to the Eastern Columbia building.
And how would you describe Miss Hurd's demeanor in Los Angeles?
Yeah, pretty calm. I mean, she seemed, obviously a lot calmer from the house, but she pleasant towards Travis, certainly in the car. Obviously, they knew each other. When we got to the building, she was kind enough to show me around the apartment. I'd never been before. She showed me around the penthouse, a little tour. She wrote down some restaurants recommendations because she knew I'd be staying a few days, probably. So, and I don't really know LA that well. So she recommended a few restaurants. And then I left. I said, if you need anything, as usual, as I always did, need anything, give me a shout. I'll be staying fairly close by. Just give me a call or a text.
How long were you in LA?
Less than a week. I think I flew back to Australia on the 14th or 15th. So about 5 days, 6 days tops.
And when you got back to Australia, what were you doing?
Pretty much putting the house back together, repairing all the damage with the help of professional contracted vendors I brought in, and just getting the house back as it was originally.
At some point, did Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd return to Australia?
Yes, they did.
Were you there when they returned?
Yes.
Did you observe them interacting with each other after they came back to Australia?
Yes, yeah.
And how would you describe their interactions?
Again, initially, those first few days were certainly very pleasant, almost honeymoon-like, I would say. It strolled around the grounds a bit, and they seemed fine with each other.
Did you ever observe any arguments after they returned?
Yes. I mean, many. Several more, yeah.
And how would you describe those?
Not dissimilar to the London arguments in terms of the pattern of those, the sort of provocation and the reaction that leave the room, Mr. Depp leaving the room, going to another room, playing his guitar, seemed to follow the same pattern as that, as I witnessed those 2 times in London.
All right. Nothing further.
All right, cross-examination.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, to understand your testimony, is it your testimony that Amber and Mr. Depp arrived together in Australia in February of 2015?
Initially, together, I don't think so. I think Mr. Depp arrived ahead of Miss Hurd, actually.
Mr. Depp arrived first, correct?
I think so, yeah.
And isn't it true that Ms. Hurd, Amber didn't arrive until March 5th, 2015 to Australia?
I can't remember the date she arrived, to be honest.
But she could have arrived March 5th, 2015. Isn't that true?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Ms. Hurd could have arrived on March 5th, 2015, correct?
It's possible, I suppose.
And isn't it true then that you didn't see any arguments between Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp before the injury that occurred to Mr. Depp's finger in Australia?
I saw them argue.
You saw them argue when they came back, in April, correct?
I certainly saw them argue in April and through most of the months they were there, yes.
But you don't remember, you can't recall any arguments in February or March of 2015 between Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp, correct?
Specific days? Not necessarily, no.
Right, so that you don't know, you can't say that there were any arguments before you came to the house on March 8th, 2015, correct?
I think there were, I mean...
Excuse me, say that again?
I think there were.
But you don't even know when she arrived, correct?
Specifically, the day, not necessarily, no.
Okay. And you said when you arrived at the house on March 8th, when you eventually found the finger, it was wrapped in paper, is that right?
Wrapped, I mean, it was loosely wrapped. The paper was opened by that point. The blood had dried up and it was sitting in the sort of nest of this paper, yes.
So like someone had put the finger in a piece of paper?
I don't know. I mean, it was in that piece of paper.
It was in a piece of paper, okay. So, but again, like someone had wrapped it up, is that right?
I don't know. It was within that scrunched up piece of paper, kitchen paper, tissue.
So it was in kitchen paper, is that right?
Well, tissue paper. It was white with a lot of blood on it.
So like a paper towel?
Like a piece of kitchen towel.
When you say kitchen towel, our language is made, even though we both speak English, I may say a little different. It's like a paper towel?
Yeah, like kitchen paper, kitchen towel. Yes.
Okay.
Like a tissue.
And was there that sort of paper towel in the kitchen at the house at the time?
Yes, in both areas, the kitchen and the bar.
Okay. You said you were in Australia starting in February of 2015, correct?
Correct. I arrived on the 4th of February.
And Mr. Depp arrived sometime after that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you see Marilyn Manson while you were there?
No, I didn't.
You don't know if Mr. Depp was with Marilyn Manson in late February, early March 2015?
Objection, foundation, speculation, relevance.
I'm just asking if he saw, he said he saw him every day, so I was asking if he saw.
I'll allow the question. If you can answer it, that's fine.
Marilyn Manson didn't come to the house. I didn't see him at any point.
Do you know if Mr. Depp left to be with Marilyn Manson?
I don't know. I didn't always know where he was going. If he went out, it was either to work or the security would go with. I wouldn't generally go. In fact, I don't think I went out with him at all in Australia.
And you didn't go out with Mr. Depp at all when he was in Australia, correct?
I don't recall it. I saw him on set once or twice, yeah.
So you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing in Australia unless you saw him at the house or on set, is that right?
I saw him at the house, yes, every day.
But you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing when he left the house, correct?
Generally going to work on Pirates of the Caribbean 5 filming, yes.
But were you with him?
No, but the security with him, and I had to liaise with him for when he would go and when he would come back for the driver, etc.
But you weren't there when Mr. Depp left the house, correct?
Generally, I didn't leave the house with Mr. Depp on those days, no.
And I just want to make sure, I want to be clear, there were two kind of periods that Mr. Depp was in Australia in 2015, right?
Sorry, say again.
Mr. Depp was in Australia from sometime in February 2015 until about March 8th, March 9th, when he injured his finger, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
And then Mr. Depp left Australia too, correct?
At some point he flew to LA, yes.
And then Mr. Depp returned to Australia on April 21st, right?
Okay, that sounds about that time. I don't know the specific date, I don't recall.
And the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, right?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I didn't get, oh, sorry.
There's objection.
You recall testifying to that in the UK?
I'll overrule the objection if you can answer it.
That the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, 2015.
I wasn't involved in the filming schedule. I didn't know when it resumed, to be honest. I knew Mr. Depp would come back to resume filming, for sure.
You didn't live with Mr. Depp in his house in Australia, correct?
Live with? No, I wasn't resident there.
Now, when you arrived at the house, you saw a significant amount of damage, correct?
Yes, through the course of, after I arrived, yeah.
Okay.
All right, this is important testimony and important cross-examination because this witness, Ben King, provided some very strong testimony for Johnny Depp's case, talking about their interactions that he would see at the house in Australia. Of course, when that finger was cut, and he had a pattern. He said there was provocation by Amber Hurd and then a withdrawal by Johnny Depp, who would go and play his guitar or whatever. And this is very helpful because this really matches up what Johnny Depp told his jury. We're gonna take a break, get you right back. We're back into the court when we come back. We're gonna pick it up right where we left off. You're not gonna miss a thing, so keep it right here on Court TV.
Where your hard work pays off.
Hello, and welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Thank you so much again for joining me this evening. Things are getting interesting in the courtroom now. Johnny Depp, he finished up his testimony a little over an hour or so ago. On the stand since then has been Ben King. Now, he's a house manager not employed by either party in this case. He was employed by Disney, and he's been recounting for this jury what he saw at the house in Australia and in other places and conversations he had with both parties to this suit. So let's get back into that courtroom for more of his actually, he's on cross-examination.
The scene was chaos, correct?
Chaos? I mean, there was a fair amount of damage.
The house was wrecked?
There was a lot of damage in the house, yes.
And the house was not in a good state, correct?
Asked and answered.
There was a lot of damage throughout the house.
You got to object first, and then you have your objection,
Yep.
Mr. Moniz.
Objection.
And it helps. Okay. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay. And you said there was glass on the floor, correct?
In a few areas, mainly predominantly in the bar, yes. Down in the lower ground floor, correct.
Okay, and there was blood on the walls, correct?
In various places, blood on the floor, blood on the walls.
And there was blood on the walls throughout the 3 stories of the house, isn't that right?
No, I wouldn't say that was the extent of it. There were smears up the staircase going up to the master from the main level. There were smears and drips on the carpet.
So there were smears from the master level up to the bedroom area? I mean, from the main level up to the bedroom area, is that right?
Up to the 3rd floor, yes.
Like someone had walked from the main floor up to the bedroom floor, correct?
There was blood going up the steps, up on the staircase, and some on the walls, smears where you might have done that. Yeah.
As if someone was walking from the main level up to the master bedroom, correct? Is that what the blood was like?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Or down. I mean,
up or
there was
down, but
blood
from the
on
main
that
level to
staircase.
from the main level to the 3rd floor, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you said the sofas were damaged, is that right?
One sofa in that sitting room, which was just off the kitchen, was quite an open plan thing. So off that, there was a sofa with a large TV on a wall-mounted TV in front of that sofa.
And the sofa was on the main level, correct?
Correct, just by the main kitchen, exactly.
And where the sofa was damaged, was that with what?
Blood.
Blood, okay. And the lights were damaged?
Some lamps, a couple of lamps, yes.
Okay. And there were bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge, correct?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Did you see bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge?
Yes, I mean, there was, I don't completely understand what you mean.
You saw that, correct?
There was alcohol bottles, yes. Okay. There was, in the fridge, I mean, there may have been a bottle of wine, I don't know.
And the floors were ruined, correct?
Ruined, I mean, there was a lot of damage on the floor, down in the bar area and the staircase, and on the main floor area, on the wooden parquet floor, correct.
And the floors were going to have to be sanded, correct?
I eventually got them sanded, yes.
Okay. And it took, you were there, I think you testified, it took you about 12 to 13 hours in the house cleaning up, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that there was, is it your testimony that you didn't see any of the paintings damaged?
The existing paintings from the owners from the house, no, none of them were damaged.
You didn't see any paintings with a painting of a penis drawn on it?
I did not, and thankfully that was something I didn't have to replace.
Do you know if anyone else saw that?
Objection, speculation.
I mean, I would have seen it.
When there's objections, Mr. King,
I'm
you need to stop. That's all right.
I'm sorry.
All right, if you stand, we can see you better when you do that.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. And you said that Jerry Judge was at the house, correct?
Correct.
And he's the head of Mr. Depp's security, correct?
Correct.
And Dr. Kipper was at the house?
Yes, he was.
And Debbie Lloyd was at the house as well, correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Now, you understood that Mr. Judge saw scratches on Ms. Hurd on March 8th, correct?
Objection, hearsay, speculation, foundation.
All right. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you have, the cleaning lady was going to be coming to the house, correct?
The housekeeper?
Yes, the housekeeper.
Adele, the resident housekeeper. Yes, she was going to be. I mean, yes, she was employed through the week. Again, she wasn't there on weekends.
There was concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing everything that was in the house, correct?
Objection, speculation, foundation, vague.
I'll allow it if you can answer it. You can answer it.
Thank you. Concern, sorry.
There was concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing all the damage that had been done, correct?
I know that when I left to fly to LA with Miss Hurd, I told both the chef and the housekeeper they didn't need to be coming to the house because Miss Hurd, essentially the principals weren't there. Mr. Depp wasn't there. Miss Hurd was obviously with me at that point. So I said they didn't need to come to the house.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
Objection, hearsay.
It's his own statement.
His own statement. I'll allow it.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
I think I probably made a comment about, I should just come back and deal with this myself, if that's what you mean, and just get cleaned up.
And make sure that she wouldn't say anything, correct?
I don't know. I trusted her and the chef anyway. They were good team team members.
As the house manager, part of your job is to, you said you worked with high profile people, correct?
High profile, high net worth, I think is what I actually said.
Would you agree that one part of your job is to keep things discreet for your clients?
Of course, it's part of my job. Trust and discretion, yeah.
And Mr. Depp was your client, right?
I'd worked on an assignment on those occasions, yes. But I was self-employed at the time, yeah.
But in March 8th, 2015 in Australia, Mr. Depp was your client, correct?
Correct, essentially, yeah. And Miss Hurd, both of them the principals.
Who paid, and do you know who paid for your services?
As I said before, I was paid through Disney, who were making the Pirates of the Caribbean, their production company, which I believe was called Herschel.
Okay. And can we put up Defendants Exhibit 377, which is already in evidence?
All right.
You gotta put on, that's here.
Mr. King, do you see Defendants Exhibit 377 in front of you?
I do, yes.
And do you recognize this as a lampshade that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015?
Yes, it was, I believe, one of the lampshades that was missing from one of the lamps.
Okay. And you saw, did you see this painting on the lampshade?
I did, yeah, as part of my walk around to see what...
And what floor was the lampshade on?
This was on where the art studio was, on that main level.
Yeah, so on the main level, okay.
Yes. Excuse me.
And was this, did you notice that it was dark paint that was on the lampshade?
It certainly looked like it, yes.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
I believe I did.
Okay.
Yeah, without seeing them.
All right, it is time for us to take a quick break. And as you can see there on cross, Benjamin Rottenborn is basically trying to show this jury that perhaps he did have an interest. As I suggested, he was someone who was impartial. Well, they're saying, well, who were you actually paid by and who had a stake in this issue? All right, we're going to take a break, pick it up right where we left off. When we come back, keep it right here on Court TV.
Like no other.
I'm Tanley Painter in Fairfax, Virginia for the Johnny Depp defamation case. And this is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
If you are just joining us, it's over and done. Depp has wrapped up his testimony after the better part of 4 days on the stand in his defamation suit against his ex-wife, Amber Hurd. The takeaways? Well, there are two people who clearly should not have been together, and he knew it, but he couldn't leave. And while they were not very nice to each other, he says he never laid a hand on Amber Hurd, and it was she who abused him. Now, his attorneys continue their business of trying to prove to this jury by clear and convincing evidence and Johnny Depp is not a wife beater or an abuser by calling witnesses who can support Depp's stories and assertions that he was the real victim. Now, what's happening right now on the stand is there is a gentleman named Ben King, right? Ben King was a house manager. The house manager is responsible for taking care of the homes where stars stay when they're filming. So back in Australia, back in 2015 in March, there was this fight that ended up with Johnny's finger being cut off. He's been testifying about arriving on the scene and the damage that he saw. He's on cross-examination now. They're asking him about chronicling that damage and the photos that he took. So let's get back into the courtroom for his continued cross-examination.
And can we put up Defendants Exhibit 374, please? And you recognize Defendants Exhibit 374 as a mirror that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Yes, I do.
And this mirror was in the bathroom, correct?
Correct. There were two mirrors in the bathroom above each sink.
And this was on the top floor, correct?
The master bathroom,
The master
essentially.
bathroom. And the master bathroom, just so I'm clear, was on the top floor,
Top
right?
floor, correct.
And this painting said starring Billy Bob, is that right? Is that what you recall?
Yeah, I don't know. I was writing.
Okay. And was this in the writing, was it in paint?
I believe it was the same paint, the oil paint that was used on the other mirror that we saw earlier.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
Again, possible. I haven't seen the metadata, but yes, probably.
And let's put back up Defendants Exhibit 375. This writing was also in the master bathroom, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And could you tell if the black paint was on top of the red or under the red?
I didn't really analyze it, to be honest. I just knew I was going to have to clean it up at some point.
Right. Your whole concern was just cleaning up the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know who wrote what on the mirror, correct?
No, I know that one was oil paint and the other red writing was lipstick.
And lipstick, you're not even sure of that. You just thought it was something sticky. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure it's waxy, you know, like
waxy.
Lipstick-like, same as the oil paint was oil paint-like.
Okay. Did you see paint? Did you see also any writing in blood?
Writing, no, not necessarily.
No? Okay. Now, did you help when Miss Hurd was leaving to go back to LA? You were with her, correct?
Correct.
Did you help her pack?
I think I may have done at that point. Yes, I think I did.
Did you see weren't Miss Hurd's clothes ruined?
I didn't see any ruined clothes.
There wasn't paint on her clothes?
Not that I could see. Not so much. Yeah, not at that point of packing. I mean.
There was paint in the tub, correct?
Say again, sorry.
There was paint in the tub in the bathroom, correct?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall one way or the other?
I don't recall being paint in the tub.
And it's your testimony that there was no paint or blood on Miss Hurd's clothes. Is that what you're saying?
Asked and answered.
I'll allow it.
Okay. Now, you said you were in charge of the cleanup, correct?
Yes, it was my responsibility. The house was.
And you were working with Mr. Judge and cleaning up the house. Is that right?
On the day that I arrived there.
Yes.
Mr. Judge did help me at some point. Yes, okay. Sweeping up glass, etc.
And was there photos taken of more than the three pictures you've been shown?
Photos
of the house.
By whom?
Did you take any pictures of the house?
I took a few, yeah. I mean, yes.
And did you take pictures other than the three that we saw?
I think I probably did as I was going around.
Do you know who you gave those pictures to?
No.
Do you know what you took the photos with?
My phone.
And who would you have sent those photos to?
And send them to anybody at that point.
You just kept them?
Yes.
Did you show the photos to anyone?
No.
Do you still have the photos?
Yes.
Where are they, on your phone still?
They're on one of my devices, yes.
Okay. Did you take a photo of the vodka bottle that you said was broken?
Yes.
And you have that photo?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't give that to anybody?
There are a fair few photos. I can show it to you now if you want.
How many photos did you have on your phone?
I don't remember the number, but probably more than 10.
Did anyone ever ask you for the photos?
Several of them, yes. Yes.
Did you give them to the people who asked?
Some of them, yes.
Not all of them?
I don't recall how many.
Who asked you for the photos?
I was involved in a case in London a couple of years ago.
Did you give the photo of the vodka bottle to the people that you were involved in the case in London?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Say again, sorry.
Did you give a photo of the vodka bottle to the people you were working with in London?
I don't recall which photos I gave them to.
So did you take photos of the walls?
The walls, certainly the smears of the blood and the damage, the plaster damage, yes.
You took photos of walls with blood on it, is that right?
Yes.
And you took photos of the plaster, right, that was damaged?
At the end of the bar and in the bar, behind the bar, by the sink, yes.
And did you take photos of the ping pong table that you said was broken?
Yes, as part of the bar area, I'm
Did
sure.
you take photos of, there was a glass table that was broken too, correct?
A glass table? I don't recall a glass table.
Okay. Did you take photos of all the damage that was around the house?
Probably most of it, yes.
Okay. And the only time you gave those photos to anyone, you're saying, was in the UK case a couple years back?
I'd never shared them with anybody else, yes.
Okay. And it cost about $75,000 to clean up the damage, isn't that right?
I don't know the exact cost. I think I calculated at the time, you know, after all the vendors had been in and done their things, it's about 50,000, I seem to recall.
Okay. Now, you said you flew back to Australia with Miss Hurd, correct?
I didn't fly back with Miss Hurd.
Flew back to LA from Australia, thank you, with Miss Hurd, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were asleep for most of the flight, correct?
For a lot of it. I think it's a 14-hour flight, so I think we both slept for quite a lot of it, yeah.
You were exhausted from the 13 hours you were working on the house, right?
Correct.
All right. And your testimony was that Miss Hurd said to you, have you ever been so angry with someone that you just lost it, correct?
After I'd asked, so, you know, what happened.
But you didn't inquire as to what she was referring to, right?
I mean, by what happened, it was pretty clear what I was referring to.
Let me ask again. You did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you?
With her answer?
Correct.
She didn't inquire as to my reason for asking, but it was pretty obvious to both of us what I was asking and what her reply was regarding.
You have the copy.
All right, we're going to step aside, take a quick break. But first, I want to bring in my guest for this hour, trial attorney and former criminal defense attorney, Erica Wilson. Erica, great to see you. Thanks for joining me. What are you making of Ben King so far? I think he's been a strong witness for Johnny Depp. And it's the accent. I think it is. He seems very clear and honest. Anyway, your thoughts?
He actually does, and I think the attorney's approach is kind of harsh, given that he is a disinterested witness. It very much shows that you're upset that he's not answering the question the way that you want to, but he seems very credible. I mean, I get that they may be trying to peel back the layers to show that perhaps he is an interested party, but I think his approach is not, the best. And then, the accent makes him just so charming, and he comes across so approachable. So I think he has a lot of credibility, and I think the attorney that's questioning him for Amber Hurd is not taking the right approach with this witness.
You know what jumped out at me was that, you got two people in a fight. They do $50,000 worth of damage. It's just mind-boggling. I can't even imagine how the jury is processing that. But on the plane, on the way back from Australia, you heard the conversation, you heard the quote that he says Amber told him. He said, "What happened?" And she says, "Have you ever been so angry with someone that you just lost it?" Very interesting words there. How do you think this jury is going to interpret that? Is that really strong evidence for the Depp case?
I think it's very strong evidence for Johnny Depp and his position because, again, his whole position has been that she has this erratic behavior. And essentially, that was almost, an admission that she did have a moment where she physically lost it. And then the end result was all of this damage. So I think this part of the testimony from Mr. King is very helpful for Johnny Depp.
Yeah, no question. All right, now, quickly, I just want to step back to Johnny Depp's testimony. He finished up today his cross-examination. Then we saw some of the redirect, trying to rehabilitate him on various issues. Your thoughts on how he did on the stand overall?
I think he did well. I think the problem with his testimony was that his attorneys really did not prepare him. I think a lot of things they probably should have asked in their direct, because with his attorneys, he was very conversational. He wasn't confrontational at all. But then when opposing counsel would question him, there was almost like this back and forth between him and the attorney. And I think that didn't necessarily help him a whole lot. So I think his attorneys could have done a better job. But I think they did do okay with trying to rehabilitate him after the fact. I think they should have done more on the front end in their direct.
My only question, this is my last one before we have to run to break here, is can you really prepare a witness like Johnny Depp? I mean, at the end of the day, right, you can tell him, but he's got this charm, he's got this thing, he's Johnny Depp. I thought he was playing a lot of that. Remember, he is an actor. I thought he was playing a lot of that on the stand as his back and forth with this attorney. He was getting some snickers from, I think a juror was having a good time with some of his comments. Clearly, some of his fans in the gallery were having a good time. I'm not sure how much you can actually prepare a witness like a Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp is Johnny Depp, and he's so lovable. Everybody loves him. He's one of the biggest stars on the planet, but he's still human. And if you have the secret to being able to rein in and control a witness, please share it with the world, because I can't control witnesses no matter how much you prep them. Even your own client, you can prep them, but it's very different when you're sitting literally in a box and everybody's staring at you, even if you are an actor. It just does something to the witnesses, and sometimes their nerves cause them to react a certain kind of way. So you can never really prepare your client, but you can try to do your best. As an attorney, you can try to rein it in as best you could, but no, Johnny Depp is Johnny Depp. He can't really be contained.
Yeah, you can. You can only hope to contain him. You can't control him. And I think what he wanted to do was try to control it as much as he could. That's the sense I got from him. And I think he did a fairly decent job. All right, Erica, stand by. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get you right back into the courtroom. We'll pick it up right where we left off again. You're not going to miss a thing. So keep it right here on your front row seat to justice.
B15.
Hello, and welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We're continuing with our coverage of the dueling defamation suits between Johnny Depp and Amber Hurd. On the stand now is Ben King. He was a house manager for that house in Australia during the time of the shooting of Pirates 5. And he's testifying to what he saw. Now, remember, they were in that house in Australia back in March, between February and March of 2015, and that's when the infamous incident regarding Johnny Depp's finger happened. And this was the guy who actually chronicled it, took the pictures, and saved the pictures as we heard. So he's continuing his cross-examination here, talking about what he saw and heard regarding that incident. Let's go back into the court.
Testify in court, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you take a look at page 1103 of your testimony. You see how the pages go in fours?
Yeah. No.
You see it's actually on the
bottom right?
The bottom right, you see that?
Yeah, I got it.
And if you actually look at, you see starting at the bottom of 1102, this was a statement when you said you did not, you say, Ms. Hurd asked you, have you ever been so angry with anyone that you lost it? Your answer, that's correct. And you specifically remember that, do you? Yes. You said it never happened to you. Answer, that is correct. Question, she did not, I mean, if it was said, nothing was said about who she was talking about, was it? Answer, she was asking me a question. Question, she was asking you a question. Answer, yes. Question, you did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you? I do not recall asking. I know that she was asking for a question and I gave her an answer. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, and that was your testimony you gave in the UK 2 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know what Ms. Hurd was talking about when she made that statement, correct? You don't know if she was inquiring, that she was making that statement about Mr. Depp, right?
Like I said, I'd asked the question, what happened, referring to the house, and she gave me that answer. So I think we were both, it was pretty clear to both of us what we were talking about. I mean,
and then you went to sleep
at that point.
And then you went to sleep, and then you had the flight the rest of the
sometime after that. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, and you said you saw Ms. Hurd with cuts on her arm. Is that right? On the flight?
That's right. Towards the end of the flight. Yeah.
Okay. If we could put up 376G. Do you recognize This picture?
I've not seen this picture before.
Were these the cuts? Did you see cuts like this on Miss Hurd?
Is that Miss Hurd?
Why don't we put up 376C? Do you recognize the person in that picture?
That's Miss Hurd.
All right. And did you see cuts like that, which are on her left arm?
Similar to that, long, like I described earlier, long, thin cuts, pretty uniform cuts.
These were the the cuts were like this on her kind of wrist, forearm area. Is that right?
I don't know what the date of this photograph is, but they look pretty uniform like they do here, yes.
Okay. I'd like to enter 376C into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, 376C in evidence.
What's that?
No, you can't change it.
And can we put back up 376G? Seeing 376C, is this consistent with the scratches on 376G? Are these consistent with the scratches you saw on Miss Hurd?
I don't see a date. Is that the same time? Is that the same date?
Oh, my
these
question is, are the scratches similar to what you saw on Miss Hurd?
These are uniform, kind of long, thin scratches, yes. Cuts,
I'd like to enter
scratches.
376G into evidence.
Any objection?
I mean, foundation, he hasn't authenticated the document through this witness.
I mean, I'm just asking if the pictures are consistent with what
I'll
he's...
allow it 376G in evidence.
Then can you publish it, please?
It is.
Thank you. Okay. Now, you were in the house, you said, for 12 to 13 hours on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Correct, going into March 9th, 2015.
Okay. And you spoke to Mr. Judge when you were in the house, correct?
Yeah, I had interaction with Mr. Judge, yes.
And you had interaction with Dr. Kipper when you were in the house, correct?
Correct.
And you had interaction with Debbie Lloyd when you were in the house, correct?
Yes, briefly.
Okay. And isn't it true that in the entire time you were there, you were not informed as to what caused damage to Mr. Depp's finger on March 8th?
Objection, hearsay.